So what I want to do today is just take you through our PestConnect system, which is our system that allows us to monitor for and control rodents 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. First of all, I'm just going to take you through the obviously the agenda. I'll talk to you about the key pest challenges for UK businesses. So, what are businesses required to do with regards to pest control. Then I'll take you through what is PestConnect and how it can actually help businesses maintain pest-free conditions, how it can actually help you support your environmental sustainability initiatives, and then obviously just a little bit of detail about trend analysis and risk management. This session should take no longer than 30 minutes, and we will have a session at the end for any Q&As as well. Okay, so just start off with the key pest challenges for UK businesses. So, the three key things that businesses need or require from pest control. So the first thing, and probably the most important thing, is obviously you don't want to have any rodent pests. First of all, obviously, we want to prevent pests from accessing premises in the first place. And that is through businesses helping us to maintain pest-free conditions by actioning things like housekeeping recommendations and proofing recommendations, stopping that pest from getting in the first place. The second element around that is actually monitoring. So having a line of defense in order to monitor for any rodents that actually do find their way into the business. And then control. So any rodents that actually find their way through that first line of defense, we want to make sure that we can control those pests effectively and sustainability. With regards to legislation, there are a large number of different regulations and legislations around pest control. I've just noted some on the screen there, which are the Food Safety Act, the Health and Safety at Work Act, and the Prevention of Damage by Pests Act. There are obviously other regulations as well, but the most important thing from a pest control standpoint is actually you have a pest management system set up in your business. Now, essentially, you can do that yourself. Obviously go through a third-party contractor who is qualified to do it. But the most important thing is actually that gives you due diligence. So in the worst case scenario, if there was litigation involved, you can say to the judge that obviously you had a pest control program in place, and essentially that's your due diligence defense then. And then the third element is around sustainability. Obviously, we want to control pests effectively, but actually we want to control them sustainably as well. And again, you've got the campaign for the responsible use of rodenticide, which is in place, which actually ties into our product label to say what we can and what we can't do with regards to using rodenticide. So it's all around using rodenticide responsibly. And obviously we want to control the pests, but we don't want to control them inhumanely. And actually we do have a range of solutions that not just control the pests effectively, but actually control them humanely as well. Okay, next slide, please. So we have a system called PestConnect, which essentially is, our tagline is intelligent pest control that doesn't cost the earth. There are three key features around that. So, I've talked about sustainability already, but actually the PestConnect system allows us to deliver a reduction in rodenticide use of up to 40%, which actually obviously helps you protect your reputation. And obviously, if you do have any environmental credentials, helps you sort of achieve those as well. So actually, we can reduce the amount of rodenticide we're using on your site by up to 40%. We use smart technology. So the devices we put in place are there to monitor for and control pests 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So when a mouse or a rat enters your premise, we know straight away that that device has been triggered, which means we can provide that early warning in order to reduce the risk of that problem becoming an infestation. And it's a cost-effective system as well. Having a PestConnect system in place doesn't need to be any more expensive than standard traditional pest control. But obviously, you've got the added benefit of we are protecting the businesses 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If we take a look at the next slide, we have the sort of those key features sort of broken down into 5 essentially. So again, we've talked about the system monitoring for rodents 24 hours a day, 7 days a week using intelligent connect units. But also it's about our expertise of our technicians as well. There's no point having connected devices in place if you don't have the technicians in order to actually respond to those devices. And actually, as a company, we've got over 800 qualified pest control technicians that can obviously maintain the system first of all, but also react to any call outs that the system places on us. We do use a range of unique and effective products, which I'll talk to you a little bit more about detail in this presentation. Intelligent data is around us capturing information from the devices and from the reports that our technician uploads when they do the visits in order to identify specific problems associated with your site or with your sites, which means we can actually benchmark your estate against similar estates, which means we can provide a better form of pest control to you. And then obviously, again, with regards to sustainability, because we can reduce the amount of rodenticide that we use on your site by up to 40%, less rodenticides out there means less risk, which obviously helps to protect your reputation. Okay, I think the next slide will talk about how established the system is. So PestConnect isn't new by any means. We've actually been running the system for well over 10 years. And the system has developed and evolved over that 10-year period to be the sophisticated system that it is these days. We actually have over 90,000 PestConnect devices already installed in just under 7,000 customer sites in the UK. So it's not a niche system by any means. We do have a large amount of customers that are actually using this system on a day-to-day basis at the moment. And actually, there are a few customers on the screen there where we've got case studies and referrals. So those customers have actually got the system in place and are happy to shout about it as well. And we've also put our Trustpilot reviews on there as well. Again, this is about the expertise and the quality of the technicians as well. And actually, we've got an excellent rating on Trustpilot from just over 4,000 reviews now with a score of 4.8%, so 4.8 out of 5. So actually, we can back up the excellent levels of service that we provide to our customers. Okay, the next slide will actually talk to you about how PestConnect works. Okay, so down to the nitty-gritty of it. Essentially, what we do is we will place a control panel, at least one control panel, into your business, which is normally located into a central area. That control panel then links all of the devices that we position around your premises. And we have a number of different devices that we use, which again, I'll go into a little bit more detail later. But the device that you can see on the screen there is what we call a radar rodents. So when a mouse enters one of these radar rodents units, that will then trigger the unit to close the doors, and then carbon dioxide is pumped into the chamber, which essentially kills the mouse. At the same time, that radar will send a signal onto the control panel, which then sends another signal through to our central servers, which then hits our technicians, who can then respond, come out to site, visit that radar, clean it out, reset it, and then obviously look in between the devices in order to establish where that mouse got access to in the first place. So it's not just about us monitoring for and controlling mice, it's actually making sure the technician does the visit in between in order to raise any recommendations like proofing, housekeeping, and stacking in order to prevent that problem from happening in the future. The technician will then report using myRentokil, which will give you full access of exactly what's happened on your site. And then obviously that closes the loop again. So we've got this continual system that's monitoring for both mice and rats internally and externally, 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year. So there is very little risk of a mouse gaining access to your premises and then not being spotted and then obviously causing you problems in the future. We hit the problem as soon as it becomes an issue, essentially. Okay, the next slide will talk about how robust the system is. So, some of the questions we're asked from our customers is, do you link to our systems? How secure is the PestConnect system? Well, first of all, the signals between the control panel and our central servers use what we call secure dynamic encryption. So there's no risk of that signal being lost or being hacked by any sort of nefarious hackers out there. And then the data that does land onto our central servers is continually backed up on secure cloud-based servers. So again, there is very little risk of us actually losing customers' data. And actually, we have not actually lost any customers' data in the 10 years that we've been running the system. We are also have a certificate of registration, which is the Information Security Managed System, and that's actually rated to ISO 27001 as well. And obviously that certificate is available for our customers to see, which obviously just goes to show that it is a very secure and robust system. Okay, the next slide will talk around the devices that we use. So I've already mentioned the PestConnect radar, which is our 21st century mousetrap that monitors for and controls mice using carbon dioxide. The second device you can see on the screen there is what we call the dual AutoGate Connect. Now, essentially, that is a device that we put into our external perimeter bait stations, which separates the rodenticide from the outside world. And essentially what will happen is a mouse or a rat will go into the perimeter bait station, it'll break the beams on the AutoGate. The AutoGate will then raise the doors, which allows the rat or the mouse access into the chamber where the rodenticide is, which obviously allows it to feed, take up the rodenticide, and then obviously the rodent will go away and die. After a period of time, that gate will then close again. So essentially what we're doing is we are reducing the risk of non-target species consuming that rodenticide in the first place and actually minimizing the environmental impact. Because that door is closed in the majority of the time, unless a pest obviously triggers it, there is a significant reduced risk with regards to the rodenticide spillage in, essentially, which obviously supports our environmental initiatives. The third device you can see on the screen is a Rat Rodents Connect, and essentially that is a 21st century rat trap, which again monitors for and controls rats in areas where rats may be likely to run in. So, we may have those devices in roof voids, floor voids, ceiling voids, or anywhere where there's a risk of a rat harboring. And then all of the information that we glean from PestConnect and the technician's visits are uploaded onto myRentokil, which essentially is our online reporting platform. So essentially what that all means is we use a range of sustainable monitoring and control solutions to effectively control rodents 24/7 hours a day, 7 days a week, without harming the environment. So again, it is a very sustainable practice. And I think the next slide will actually sort of bring that into the forefront, really. So, by reducing our chemical footprint, by reducing the amount of access to rodenticide outside, and then by completely eliminating rodenticide inside, we can actually reduce our chemical footprint. And because we're not using any paper, all of our reports are online under myRentokil. Obviously, less paper means less trees being cut down, essentially. So again, we can save up to 40% reduction on the quantity of rodenticides used on site, and it is a zero paper reporting system, all of which again ties into our sustainability approach. Okay, the next slide is around CREW. So I've mentioned CREW at the start of the presentation, which essentially is the Campaign for Responsible Rodenticide Use. Now, essentially what that means is there are tighter restrictions on the use of rodenticides for everyone using rodenticides in the UK. And essentially that's in place in order to protect UK wildlife from the improper rodenticide use. The issue is these regulations have actually changed over the last few years and will actually no doubt change in the next coming years as well, because they are updated regularly. But essentially using a system like PestConnect, which uses zero rodenticide internally and uses the AutoGate externally in order to better monitor for and control rodents outside, we can keep you and us compliant with CREW to make sure we are above board with regards to the use of rodenticide. Okay, the next slide is just around various solutions. So, having a system like PestConnect, again, allows us to monitor for and control the odd mouse or rat that gains access. However, if a customer did get infested by rodents for whatever means, perhaps they're leaving doors open, or they have bad housekeeping policies, or rodents are brought in with goods, what we would then do is take PestConnect offline and then actually probably use more traditional methods in order to reduce the large number of rodents that may be active on a business's premises. So basically all that means is, if a pest infestation does develop, then we will use everything in our arsenal in order to reduce and eliminate that infestation. PestConnect is about monitoring and controlling the odd number of pests around. We may decide to actually use additional methods if the customer isn't working with us and they do get infested in the long run. Okay, the next slide is just again around about our capacity around the UK. So, we do need to make sure that we have technicians in place in order to respond to any call outs. So if a mouse did go into one of our radar units, obviously we need a technician to respond very quickly. And actually, again, just to sort of re-emphasize that we have over 800 British Pest Control Associated qualified and National Pest Technician Associated registered technicians all around the UK. And basically what that means for you is that you are never more than 30 minutes away from a Rentokil technician. So when a device is triggered, we can actually respond very quickly in order to deal with that problem promptly. Okay, and then just to mention sort of the elephant in the room almost, just with regards to coronavirus. I mean, touch wood, we are now coming out of the pandemic, or we're certainly at the back end of the pandemic as well. But just to re-emphasize that, PestConnect does support the back to work safely. Because the system only calls us out in response to pest problems, it means we don't have to do unnecessary visits to site, which obviously will reduce the risk of the spread of coronavirus in the long term, essentially. So we only respond when there is a problem. And also what we can do with PestConnect is, traditionally, pest controllers will do 8 visits per annum, which is just something historical, essentially, which is based on sort of the breeding potential of rodents. When we install PestConnect on our customer sites, we actually reduce the number of visits from 8 visits per annum down to 4 visits per annum, because you already have a system in there that's monitoring 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But obviously, we still need the technician to come at least 4 times per year in order that you have that relationship with the technician, and obviously they can check in between devices and to raise recommendations and to maintain the devices as well. Okay, next slide is just around how we actually locate the devices. So basically we have, or the technicians have, a floor plan app of which we've won a number of awards. And essentially what will happen is when the technician comes to site, rather than blindly looking for these devices that are located around the business premises, they have an app on their phone, so they can see exactly on a plan where all of those devices are located. But most importantly, they can actually see the status of those devices as well. So for example, the devices will show up as green if they haven't been activated, or they will show up as red if they are activated. And obviously what that allows the technician to do is actually to go to the devices that need the most attention, i.e. those perhaps that have been recently activated by a rodent, or those perhaps that need a replacement of a battery. So again, the technician is focused on those areas that need the most attention, rather than sort of just blindly walking around the site, zombie baiting or zombie bait checking, which is obviously something we want to get away with. Okay, the next slide is just around myRentokil. So again, all of the reporting that we do on our customer sites are uploaded into our central servers, which hits our customer-facing platform, myRentokil. That platform is free to all of our customers and can be accessed on PC, smartphone, and tablet. And on that myRentokil system, you can gain really easy access to things like visit detail, infestation history, recommendation status, so what recommendations have been raised and whether they've been closed off or not, which obviously is really important for auditing purposes. Access to floor plans to see, so you can see where the devices are located also. And then there's also a bespoke charting and data analysis function on there as well. So you can compare, for example, infestations of rodents between year 1, year 2, and year 3, for example. So you can do a bespoke trending to see, what sort of activity you've had on your site over the last number of years. Okay, and then just with regards to the amount of data. So again, I mentioned at the start of the presentation on the power of data. Every day we upload thousands of pieces of information, either from our technicians' PDAs or directly from the control panel, from the PestConnect system. And that allows us to make or to do activity analysis across our customer sites or a multiple site even. We can benchmark across market sectors, and essentially it allows us to identify issues quicker, which provides then a more targeted approach. So just to give you a really good example of that, the pie chart on the left-hand side of the screen there will actually show all of the radars for one of our customers, or a customer that has a number of sites around the UK. And actually what we managed to figure out from the analysis is that 37% of all of those radar triggers actually happened around the main loading doors within the warehouse areas. And obviously that's really valuable information, not just for us, but for the customer as well. So obviously we can then target why those rodents becoming a problem in that particular area. It may be that perhaps doors are left open, or there's gaps around the loading docks or gaps around the doors, but it actually allows us to solve the problem in order to reduce the risk of infestations happening in the future. Okay, the next slide is just sort of re-emphasizing that really. So again, just going back to the fact that we need to make sure that we do technician visits on a semi-regular basis, i.e. at least 4 times per annum, because it's really important the technicians raise recommendations, but also important the customer actually actions those recommendations as well. And actually, one of the stats that we've got from a relatively recent technician survey is that 90% of technicians state that the main reasons business develop pest problems is because they don't fully rodent-proof their premises. So again, there is a first line of defense against rodents, which is proofing and housekeeping, and we do need to make sure that actually our customers are actioning those recommendations in order to prevent them from getting infested in the first place. So it is really important that we work together as a business and as a customer in order to make sure that the premises is as fully rodent protected as it needs to be. Okay, so just to sum up some of the key features and benefits around PestConnect versus a traditional system. So first of all, using a PestConnect system, we can monitor for and control rodents 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So even if one mouse gained access to your premises, if we didn't have a connected system in place, that mouse may be active for up to 6 weeks before anyone noticed. Bearing in mind a mouse can breed or has a gestation period of 3 weeks, you can very soon start getting a larger number of mice if that initial mouse wasn't spotted. Secondly of all is obviously focusing on the quality of the technician. We do need our technicians in place in order to respond to any call outs and to maintain the system and to raise recommendations as well. The more data that we can glean from our customer sites, the greater ability we have in order to reduce the risk of infestations happening in the first place. So obviously more data means better pest control. And PestConnect is one of the most sustainable forms of pest control we have out there as well. Because we're not using any rodenticide internally and the external rodenticide is separated out from the outside world by the autogate, we can provide a really good level of pest control to our customers, but actually in a really sustainable way. And then the next slide, we'll just talk around some of the other devices and products that we use that are sustainable. I mean, I wouldn't be a very good marketing manager if I didn't mention some of the other solutions we offer as well, from the likes of Lumia Compact, which is our LED fly control units, all the way through to natural hawking and various sort of proofing methods as well. So obviously, if our customers or any businesses out there have any other problems apart from rodents, we can provide a sustainable solution for whatever pest that you have on your premises. Okay, and I think that is the end of that particular presentation. So I'll hand over to Amy now just to see whether there are any questions from the audience.
Thanks, Berwyn. Yeah, I have had a few questions come through. Just before I go over to those, just a reminder, if you go to the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and type in any questions that you have, they'll come through to us and then we'll be able to cover them now. So the first one that we've had through is just around the price of the system. So what is the cost of PestConnect?
Yeah, that's a really good system. So yeah, I did mention during the presentation that, but by reducing the number of visits from a traditional 8 per annum down to 4 per annum, obviously we can offset the cost, which then covers the cost of the equipment. So essentially PestConnect doesn't cost as much or as more as a traditional 8 visits per annum. Obviously, we would price up a customer's premises on a case-by-case basis, but obviously we can provide a free of charge survey to our customers in order to ascertain the right level of protection for individual businesses.
Thanks, Berwyn. Another question that's come through is how long will the setup of the PestConnect system take and how much disruption to site is there?
Okay, very little disruption to site. Essentially, setting up a PestConnect system doesn't take as long as a standard routine, essentially. So if you're already a customer with us and you have a routine by one of our technicians, the PestConnect won't take any longer than that. Obviously, again, it just depends on the site to site. Some sites are obviously larger than others, but generally, for a typical setup, no more than 60 minutes to 90 minutes, typically, essentially.
Thanks, Berwyn. So one final question that we've got, is the technician made aware of any takes immediately, and does this reduce having to telephone the technician for a call out?
Yeah, absolutely. So as soon as a mouse or a rat goes into a device, the technician is notified. There is about a 15-minute delay, delay because the devices connect with the control panel at least every 50 minutes. So the longest term possible is that 15 minutes. But again, yeah, as soon as the device is triggered, that will alert a technician, and then a technician will normally give the customer a call to notify them there's been a problem. So in 99% of the cases, we are well aware of there's an issue before you even notice anything on site. And obviously, a technician will then respond and deal with your problem as required.
Thank you. They are all the questions we've had on the session today.
Okay, excellent. So if you just click onto the next screen, obviously we do have our details on the screen. So if you are interested in learning more about PestConnect, or you would like a survey, obviously you can contact us via telephone, via email, and our website details are on there as well. So just want to thank you for your time today, and hopefully we'll be in contact soon. Thank you very much.